Okay, welcome back to episode 4 on our dive into emptiness, our exploration of what has been spoken of since time immemorial. This discussion of what came first, what is there, what's the thing, where do we come from, what's it all about, right? And so we've had people acknowledge the pure potentiality from which we came, that which precedes form, and how we talk about this thing which we're limited by because we are an expression of form. So how can we talk about the formless? And we try to point at the source and the origin of consciousness, and at least this is the way I see it. And so I'm exploring what all these ancient traditions have called emptiness, or their assertions of these kinds of first principles, the things which came before all else. So today we are looking at Hermeticism. Welcome to the Hermetic Principles. So Hermetic, referring to Hermes, who is a Greek, from the Greek pantheon of gods, a communicator, transferring messages. The Romans called this same energy Mercury, or it was their adaptation. And in the Egyptian culture, you can see it was called Thoth or Tot. My pronunciations throughout this whole series have been pretty bad, and I feel bad about that, but it is what it is. We're going to just go forward with it anyways. So what we have here is a picture of Thoth. So what we have on this front page here is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. So I like to use the Hermetic Principles. I believe there are 6 or 7 of them, and I think they are the best fundamental building blocks of reality. We can build our idea of reality can be founded on these. I see them as the most fundamental principles, and the first one is the all is mind. So again, we're looking to emptiness, we're looking to beginnings, origins, and so with Hermeticism, we have some of the other principles are the principle of vibration. So everything vibrates. And the principle of correspondence, which means if it happens on one level, then it happens on another level. And this is similar to another principle, cause and effect. Other principles are gender, polarity. Rhythm is another principle of Hermes. And so we see that these are the fundamental building blocks of the wave function that I like to talk so much about, like vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, duality, and gender. And but we are going to focus in on the first principle, the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. So here we will read from the New World Encyclopedia. And I've labeled this Origins and Impact. Hermeticism is a set of philosophical and religious beliefs based primarily upon the writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. Always you should say Hermes Trismegistus. That's a mouthful. A syncretic amalgamation, which means combination of different ideas of Hermes and Thoth, as we can see here. Okay. So the movement is generally traced back to Alexandria in the first centuries of the Common Era. So Alexandria is in Egypt, and there was a famous library there, the library at Alexandria, that housed so much history of the past, and I believe the Roman Empire burned it to the ground at one point. Alexandria, probably named after Alexander the Great, conqueror. Was he Macedonian conqueror, maybe? Shows that I really don't know what I'm talking about, but we're going to explore it anyways, because that's how we learn. So generally chased to Alexandria in the first centuries of the Common Era, where it unified elements of Jewish and Christian mysticism with Hellenistic philosophy and Egyptian occultic beliefs. So we can see that this Hermeticism is a syncretic amalgamation, as they call it. The resulting composite tradition proved to be both persuasive and perdurable, as it proved compelling to both Muslim scholars in the early Middle Ages and European intellectuals at the dawn of the Renaissance. In particular, the notion that the universe operated based on orderly principles, in this case represented as cosmic vibrations in the substance of the all. So this is the idea that has stood the test of time and was so applicable to these different faiths. Again, the bolded section, the notion that the universe operated based on orderly principles. I love that, yeah, for sure. We're all looking for the laws of nature. What are the fundamental building blocks? And as I talked about in the beginning, some of the other ones, vibration, polarity, they're just so fundamental to even our physics or our understanding of nature, right? Like and all this stuff lines up. So we'll continue. So the notion that the universe operated based on orderly principles, in this case represented as cosmic vibrations in the substance of the all, was instrumental not only to Western occultism, but also to the development of the modern scientific method. This connection can be seen most clearly in the hermetical and alchemical treatises written by some of the most influential thinkers of their respective eras, including Giordano Bruno, John Dee, Francis Bacon, and Sir Isaac Newton. So, these principles have taken root in scientific method. We're going to continue here. We have a picture of Hermes Trismegistus. This is a medieval rendering. We see him spinning this globe on his finger almost. He's got a basket of arrows. Is it a skull I see? Looks like a dead man, sleeping man, leaning against it, some armor. And this man in a big hat, robes, holding a book. Okay, and this is also from the New World Encyclopedia. Continuing on, in particular, Hermetic thought generally tends towards either a monistic or pantheistic understanding of ultimate reality, with all of creation existing as a subset of a cosmic all or cause. Okay, so here if we're going to start to draw comparisons and to the other traditions we're looking at, existing as a subset of the cosmic all. So that Tai Chi exists as a subset of Wuji, of emptiness. So form exists as a substance of the eternal, right? So this perspective is echoed in the Kybalion, which states, "We have given you the Hermetic teaching in regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all." So this primordial substance, it's saying, is mind. And it's saying that all of creation exists as a subset of the all, the mind of the all. However, such beliefs are held in tandem with a highly realized theology, cosmology featuring gods and angels, ascended masters and elementals, as well as various varieties of good and evil spirits. All entities are understood to exist as processes of vibrations in ultimate reality. So that should be a bolded one there for sure. All entities are understood to exist as processes or vibrations in ultimate reality. So what are things? Things are vibrations or processes. Again, that's taking us to the verb, right? It's things, we think of things as a noun, as kind of lifeless, but this is even reminding me, I believe in the Potawatomi language, so much more of it are verbs and less of nouns. All entities are understood to exist as processes or vibrations in ultimate reality, such that the only difference between different states of physical matter, mentality, and spirituality is the frequency of their vibration. So they're all vibrations. It's the frequency which is distinguishing between matter and mind and spirit. The higher the vibration, the further from its base matter. Okay, so what we can see is that Hermeticism has been around since the first century Common Era, and it's existed through like Muslim spiritual tradition, or it was like harmonized with it, and Christian, but also into modern scientific theory, as we see the fundamental of vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect being used to build our sciences. Here it indicates that these core principles do exist with elementals and angels and all things, but all things ultimately coming back to the vibration and just the frequency of the vibration. We're going to look deeper into the Kybalion. We have the credit on the bottom there, the 3 initiates. This was published in 1908. So this is a very modern, even though, it's stretching back 1,000, 2,000 years. keep in mind. But I love this. This is like the best expression of the principle. So 1908, this is about 120 years ago. So the Kybalion study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece. And the first principle is the principle of mentalism. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlining all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses. So it explains that the all is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as an universal, infinite, living mind. So it's unknowable and undefinable is this emptiness, right? But it can be considered and thought of as universal, infinite, living. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to mastery of mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ages ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." So that is getting close to the end here, but we'll just unpack this last part again. And really, all this stuff is pointing to the same thing. Even all these videos are all talking about the unknowable and undefinable, but they're trying to give such loose boundaries to it, right? Understanding that everything is vibration and different densities of vibration manifest into the physical world. Here we start to see the separation of the spirit and the mind and the matter, which this is more of, the modern thinking, I guess. I don't think we have those distinctions in things like Buddhism or Taoism. It was more elemental. But anyways, I don't want to dive too far back into that. But it is nice to kind of pull things along with us as we move forward, picking up all these new ideas and how they are all syncretic amalgamations to sound super challenging. But yeah, this last principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and how these are all subordinate to mastery of mind. Yes. And I could talk about mastery of mind is something I love to work on, training the mind and just focusing on breath. Even I love the distinction from the Buddhist. I say this, but anyways, I call upon the Buddhist, again, we talked about that tripod, the Shila, Panya, and Samadhi, meaning that as we develop morality, we develop concentration, we develop wisdom and insight. So these insights here come from clarity of mind. As we work to still the mind, insights just flood in because we're wiping away the gunk. It's like the emptiness verb that the Buddha talked about. We clean out the mind of the junk and we see the truth. It's not like we need to acquire the pieces of truth and hold them in our memory. The more we let go of this stuff that is not true and impermanent, and we're just clinging to these ideas of what, like something that isn't really real, it allows us to participate more in just awareness and presence. And in that state, the truth flows through you like water flows around a rock. So here we have the mind is all. The all is mind. And from it, all things are emerging. Similar, but different. Another piece to the puzzle. Next up, we are going to dive into Kabbalah, which it's Jewish mysticism. And we're going to look at some of the old texts. At least I'm going to introduce them to you, the Sefer Yetzirah and the Zohar. And we are going to look at more modern mystical approaches, probably touch on the beginning of tarot a little bit, even though like all these ideas will feed into, like the tarot is an amalgamation of all these things, but because we're going to look at Kabbalah, we are going to see the tree of life, which is so closely related. So it's going to be fun. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you're feeling all right today. If you're looking for some way to pull yourself out of darkness, you can reach out to someone. You can reach out to me if you need to. And we can also just try to separate yourself a little bit from the thoughts that you're having. Even if just right now you can just for a second be like, oh, look at all the thoughts that are going around in my head, and just accepting for just 5 seconds if you can that, okay, like what would happen if we just let go of them, stopped identifying with them, just like put them all aside for a second and just tried to look at them. So I'll just do it for 5 seconds. And I just end up coming back to the breath again, training the mind. Mastery of mind is a simple act, and it's really just choosing to focus on the breath, the sensation. We can really refine our minds by limiting our awareness, training the mind becoming sharper, and all that gunk being cleared away. It's not hard to let it. It is hard to let it go, but like it doesn't take the crazy intelligence or anything like that. It just takes will. If you are willing to let go of it, then you can, and you can find liberty. You can be liberated while you're on this earth.